I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10? Welcome to the Sunday Movie Marathon. That was a terrible American accent, but that was a tribute to the late, great Jessica Walter, who died recently.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Great actor. She was in
Wouldn't
Arrested
actress.
Development. Yeah, great actor. She was in Arrested Development and some other stuff that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've only seen her in
Oh.
Arrested Development.
I don't think I've ever heard of her, in all fairness. Be honest with you.
Yeah,
Currently just sat here eating my breakfast, which is a ham and cheese sandwich.
Nice. There's worse
exhilarating.
breakfasts you could have, I guess.
At 2 PM.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah. I'll call it lunch then. I skipped breakfast. It was a
Classic.
choice between this and Cocoa Pops with gone off milk, and I figured that I wouldn't like gone off milk, so...
Maybe not.
Jesus.
I can't imagine it's much worse than when you had cereal with beer in it.
Hey, you told me to.
No, I didn't. You said, should I do this? And I said no, and you did it anyway.
That was nothing compared. That was relatively tolerable compared to the protein shake with beer that I had, which was just fucking disgusting.
Sounds awful. Anyway,
Mm.
we could debate what does not go with what all day long, but we got some movies to talk about.
We have indeed.
Yeah. So we'll start off with my recommendation. I picked the film Do the Right Thing, directed by Spike Lee. This is an incredibly important film when it comes to the portrayal of black people in cinema. There wasn't really any films like these before that portrayed black people in such a way. Basically, it's all set on one block in Brooklyn on the hottest day of the summer, and it just kind of follows a group of different people all living their life constantly. There's like this constant feeling of racial tensity between the black people, the Asian people, the Italian Americans, all these different cultures and groups of people who just have this constant tensity, which all comes to a head when one of the characters asks the pizzeria owner to put a picture of a black person on his wall of fame, and everything just spirals out of control there. So yeah, what do you guys think of Do the Right Thing?
I'll let you start, Max.
Sure. This movie is great. It's really good. Probably my favourite Spike Lee movie that I've seen. I've not seen many, but I feel like this movie is just kind of timeless. And as sad as that is to say, it like nothing's really changed from like 1989 to how we're seeing things happening, but especially in America today. So I got that a lot from it. This is my second time watching it, and it's just like it's a very fun movie. It's really fun. It's I'd say it relies more on its like characters than it does an actual plot. It's just like you're watching these people do their everyday life just in the span of one day, and it's really hot, and there's a lot of tension in it. So it's got this like kind of lighter feel, but like under the surface, it's got this like tension that I really enjoy.
Yeah, like constantly the film feels like fairly upbeat in a way, like there's constant scenes of comedy and stuff, but at the same time you can definitely tell that there's something like running underneath, and then when everything just like kicks off in the last 10-15 minutes and it gets like super disturbing and hard to watch, that's when like it kind of makes sense. I feel like you kind of have to have that with what the story was trying to portray.
I liked it. So I'm eating crisp at the moment. I'm trying to talk without sounding like I've got my mouth full. I really enjoyed this movie. It's different, very different to I think anything that I've watched before. Just in the fact that it was set in the span of one day, how it was shot, the camera angle was all really good. In all fairness,
Yeah, it looks great. Lots like really colourful, and I did get like that from like the camera angles as well. There's like a lot to do with like just how technically like interesting it is. You got like these like the camera's like swinging around, or like it's going from like quick cuts and like different people saying things. It's just it's a really like interesting way to frame this story, because you could frame it in like a whatever. There's racial injustice and it's bad and we should do something about it. Whatever, movie over. But it's not like that at all. You get the you do get the commentary, but you also get fantastic technical filmmaking.
Yeah, I think visually it just looks great. I love pretty much the whole film's like shot using like handheld cameras. So like you constantly feel like almost like it's like a documentary, like you're just following this camera around, like just being like almost like a fly in the wall sort of thing. And I think the colouring also does a great job at like portraying just how like hot and sunny it is. Like there's so many shots where it's just like incredibly orange and golden. There's like a few shots where you can see like heat waves on the screen. It's incredibly like interesting how they did it as well, because like apparently for the first few weeks of filming, like it was just constantly cloudy and raining, so they had to use like creative ways to use camera angles and lighting effects to make it look sunny to hide like the actual weather. And I think they did an incredible job. Like you couldn't tell like it was shot on a cloudy or rainy day. Everything just feels super, super hot.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I couldn't tell. I honestly just thought maybe they just shot it in one day. That's definitely not it. But the day doesn't feel like, it never like jumps around as far as like how like the weather is portrayed and like how the different like places look. It all feels very of the same time.
Well, I didn't realize until the very end of this movie that it was filmed in not filmed in one day, but it was shot in the perspective of it being a like single day.
Yeah, because you only really find out towards the end where like you wake up, they show it like the day after everything kicks off.
Yeah, you got people sweating all the time. You're just like going around going, it's so hot here. Man, this is so hot. Everybody's like kind of, because it's really hot, you understand like why people might have like a short temper, and they really do. Like you see people blowing up at each other. You got the some people who are like mad at like the Koreans, going like, they set up their business. If I could have done that if I was like Korean or something. And it's like, oh man, you haven't done anything. And he's just like sat there on his chair.
Yeah, something that I don't think people talk about a lot when it comes to this film is how it handles racism towards like Italian Americans and Asian people as well. Because like when I think about this film, I normally just think of it as, it's a film about like racism towards black people and like people being racist towards that sort of ethnicity, and also like obviously the police brutality stuff towards the end. But there is definitely like running underneath, you see like multiple parts where you see characters being discriminated against who are of different ethnicities. And I think Spike Lee does it in such a way that it feels quite non-biased in a way. Like obviously you can kind of tell where he's coming from when it comes to racism, because obviously he is a black man himself and he writes a lot about what he knows and his experiences. But there's something about the way he portrays the other cultures as well that I think is really tasteful.
Yeah, Connor just eating his crisps in the background. Yeah, there's always like, I feel like it's more to do with like prejudice in America as a whole, I guess.
Yeah.
You got like the song "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy being played all the time. That's a very like that fits with the themes a lot. Especially like Radio Raheem, who's a great character. He's like always playing it out of his boombox. Everyone was telling him to shut up. His boombox breaks. He's got to buy like a load of batteries. He's like shouting at the Koreans, going like, "Just give me the batteries." So yeah, I do get a lot with like prejudice, and it's like, it's funny that it's like that song that's like been silenced in a way.
Yeah, that's a great usage of the song. Apparently, Spike Lee knew he needed like an anthem or something for the film, because he knew that he needed like a really great song that would play all throughout. So he actually commissioned Public Enemy to write "Fight the Power" for the film, and like I just think it's used incredibly well, like especially in like the intro sequence where it like plays in full, and you've got can't remember her name, one of the main characters like dancing, like boxing basically. It's like it's a scene inspired by like classic Hollywood musicals, and it just instantly sucks you into the film, and it's like such a like an angry and anthemic way to start the film, and I think it's really great, and I just generally love how it's used throughout.
Yeah, it's punchy, good punchy song.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what I thought of this movie, in all fairness.
Right.
So I really liked it, and obviously it was depicting racial tension between different ethnicities in Brooklyn in that time of the year, and I think it's quite accurate. I've never been to Brooklyn, but obviously what we see in media, it's not entirely wrong. I liked Samuel Jackson's character almost being a narrator throughout it, not narrating the story, but with his what's it called? With his radio show, it kind of separates portions of the day, and just helps keep track of like the timing throughout it. And there was one scene that really stood out to me, and it was when you know the guy that was in Transformers, I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Yeah,
John Turturro. That's
the one, yeah. When he takes his brother into like the back room and he says like whites and I don't think he says whites and blacks, but he says about his race of people and blacks can't live together. And it just sort of showed to me that just simple casual racism like that can just lead to something a lot worse later down the line if it's left to just fester.
Yeah. That's a great scene as well. You got like the camera going around and like the light's been hit, so it's just like whirring around, so the lighting is like just flying around the place as the camera's going in like circles, and they're having this argument. They're like grabbing each other's shirts and just having this big blow up at each other. That was really great.
Yeah, I loved the way Samuel Jackson's radio stuff like plays throughout, because like there's a lot of licensed music in the film, although there is a score which was actually composed by Spike Lee's dad, I believe. But like the way the licensed music plays, like in the background of scenes, you always have like Samuel Jackson as the radio DJ, like presenting the songs. I think that's a really interesting inclusion. The only film I can think of that did something similar is like Reservoir Dogs, and even that didn't do it in like the same way it does it in here.
No,
that's still a movie I have yet to see.
That's a good one.
Indeed, it is.
I've been told, in all fairness, that it is good.
The part where was it Bugging Out? What a name! These people will have like the stupidest names imaginable, and then he's like, "Oh, this white guy, he's like scuffed his shoe accidentally, so he gets his friends as the white guy's going up to his house, and he's like, "Oh, you don't even belong here," and he's like, "No, I've lived here all my life," and then he's like, his friends are like, "Oh, go on, do him in, Bugging Out, beat him up," and then he's like, "Oh, you're lucky I'm a righteous black man, or you'd be in serious trouble."
Yeah, Bugging Out's a great character. He's played by Giancarlo Esposito, who is a great actor. Name before. He's been in so much. He's one of the main villains in Breaking Bad. He was like he's the recurring villain in The Mandalorian.
Oh, is he the guy from?
He was in The Boys as well.
The Boys. Oh, that's him.
Yeah. I didn't realise until I was like looking up the cast list after I watched this for the first time. It's interesting seeing him play such a different character, because like everything I've seen him in, like Breaking Bad, The Mandalorian, all that stuff, he's like generally plays like a villain who's like a smart businessman. And that seems to be kind of what he's typecast as, but it's what he does incredibly well. So yeah, it's good to see him play like a funny character for once, and I really love his character in the film.
He's fantastic. I love him. He's got like these big glasses. Makes everything he does look like stupider.
Yeah.
Got like a weird haircut with like looks like the pattern of a bee on the side of his head. I love him.
Yeah, there's a few like actors like that who have gone on to do like big things. Like obviously Samuel Jackson, him, and Martin Lawrence is in this film, like in his first role. It was really weird to see him show up, because I didn't realise he was in it when I watched it the first time.
Yeah, when you put it out, I started to notice him a lot more.
Yeah, it doesn't really say much though. He's just like one of the mates.
Yeah, just one of the guys who lives on the block. I love how characterful they make Brooklyn. There's just like something very vibrant about it. Like it does a great job of like making you feel a part of like this very colourful community. Like there's people from all different walks of life, all of whom are like connecting through like discrimination in different ways. Just like find it so encapsulating. Like just simple scenes of just watching characters just interact and talk, even like some of the lesser characters. I just find all that stuff super interesting, and I get really invested into all of it.
Yeah, it feels like it's set in like a few blocks, honestly. It doesn't feel like this like huge place. It feels very community driven.
It's set across one block, apparently. It was all filmed on that one block as well.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
Yeah. They I think what they did, they shot it on this one block, and there was loads of like vacant apartments on the block, so they just used that for any of the inside shots, and they built a pizzeria on the corner, which was actually apparently like a working pizzeria that you could actually like make pizza in. They didn't like open it to the public or anything, but all like the ovens and everything like that all worked. Danny Aiello, who plays Sal, like there's multiple shots of him just making pizza, and apparently that he actually just did make pizza and he learned how to do it for those scenes.
Wow. They were just like, oh, we're going to make this pizzeria, but it's just for us. No, you can't use it.
Does he know that
Just
we're
for
not
us.
filming today in the pizzeria? Yeah, he's just doing his thing. He's just being him.
Dedication to the art. He was a really great character. He got a lot
I
from
like the
him, from his
contrast between
performance.
him and his sons. Well, not him and his sons, but him and his one son.
Yeah,
Where-
and Vino.
Yeah, where he's really sort of anti-black, quite racist, and his dad's just like, no, these people are good to me, I'm good to them. It's like the scene where, is it that smiley guy comes to the window and he just goes out there and starts losing his shit and starting a fight with like every person in the neighborhood. His dad just walks out there and he's like, get the fuck back indoors now.
Apparently that bit was improvised. Like they just had like extras just started shouting for some reason, so he just went with it.
Jesus Christ. That kind of, I don't know if that would make me comfortable or not, like, coming out of that much offensive shit on the
Yeah.
the
Well,
bounce.
He apparently, I listened to like the audio commentary for the film yesterday, so I learned a lot about the making of it. And apparently he was like, he felt really uncomfortable at first and didn't want to take the role because he was worried about how like black people would view him after the film. Like he was worried that he'd like go into a black neighborhood or something and like they just snap and try and kill him because of the film. But apparently the complete opposite happened.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
well, it's all acting, you know?
Yeah.
It's all acting. As long as, like, the intent is not malicious in any way,
Yeah.
then, like, you can do that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's like, what, you just can, like not have these characters in film? It's limiting.
One of
No
the
need for
scenes that made me truly uncomfortable when I was watching it, not just like listening to it was fine, but I felt uncomfortable for the actors, is, you know, when it was like, it was almost like the camera was fixed as a person talking to them, and they were just going through each different ethnicity, and they were just saying
Yeah.
racial slurs about every other character, and he just went, oh, honestly, it's just so, it must have been so uncomfortable to feel, to just use the word like a monkey and gorilla, just, it's like, oh.
Yeah. That's such a great
No.
scene.
That's hilarious. I love
It,
that.
like, it really like puts you on the receiving end of these slurs because these characters are like directly staring into the camera, and I think
Yeah,
it just
same,
kind of
yeah.
shows you how silly a lot of it is. I just think it's a really well written scene, but just really well acted scene.
I like Demea. You guys like him? He was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I
just
love
this like
Demea.
old dude who's like trying to charm this woman, mother sister, just to get her to like him. So he like gets her flowers, and then like he has to like jump in front of a car to save a child just to get her to talk to him. That
Yeah.
wasn't like the intent, but that's what happened. But I like their dynamic, and I really like him. He was very like a very sweet man.
Yeah, he
He was
is.
always like trying to get drunk.
I like the scene where he goes into the Korean market and he tries to get his like normal beers, Miller High Life, and they don't have it, and he has to get a different one. And he gets angry and like, you're asking a lot to make a man change his beer or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that seems really funny. I think the writing just generally is incredibly good. Like I find
Yeah.
some of Spike Lee's writing can be a bit heavy-handed at points, but in this film I think he did a great job of like creating these incredibly interesting and entertaining characters and like giving them dialogue that feels very real and creating this world that feels very lived in, to the point where you actually like just generally feel like you're watching a day in like the real life of that block. And I think it's all done incredibly well.
Yeah, it looks very, very natural. It reminds me of, like, obviously, I've not had the exact same experience when I was younger as what this is, because I lived in the, like, was born in the 90s, not the 80s, and I was a kid in the 2000s, not the 80s. But it kind of reminded me of, like, like summers when I was a kid, and it would just be, it was almost routine. Like when the guy worked in the pizzeria, went to work, and he said hello to everyone, said hello to that mother woman person. It was just almost routine. Like this is a daily occurrence for him, and just reminded me of what I used to do.
Yeah.
It's very
you like
gritty.
know everyone on, like you know everyone that you live around. You're very familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
get a lot of that from this. Yeah, you know, like the shopkeepers and like there's like the guy who comes through with like the ice cream cones or whatever is like these frosty snow cones or whatever, and everyone's like all the
The
kids are
icy
there.
guy.
Yeah, I love that part. It was just like this
Yeah.
small part, but it's like it just adds a lot of layers to the film. It feels lived in.
Talking about layers, what else has layers?
Spike Lee, he's in this movie.
Is he actually in this
Mookie.
movie?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
plays Mookie, the delivery boy.
Well, that's Spike Lee.
I like him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the director of the film.
Well, he looks young as fuck.
Yeah, he
He
was
looks really young.
fairly young. He was only like 30 or something when he directed this.
Yeah, but he doesn't
Yeah,
look
Jesus.
30. I thought he was a teenager in this film.
Nah.
that's crazy though.
What the fuck?
Like, he was that young. He created this movie. This movie's amazing. Like, how do you
Yeah.
do it? It's just like one of his first movies or something. It's
Back
amazing.
then, you
This-
needed real talent to be able to make movies. Now it's just people have such fucking stupid attention spans that most movies that come out shit.
Yeah. This was
I'll
his
agree. You kind of
third
don't get
film.
movies like this. Yeah, you don't really get movies like this anymore. There's just
No.
like it's kind of like just like a chilled out movie. There's not really much of a plot. It's just like you hang out and you watch it, and it's fun, and you get invested in the characters. I don't think that I see a lot of movies like that anymore.
No, I can't think of any. I'm not sure how I feel about Spike Lee's like acting in the film. Like I don't
Mhm.
think he's bad, but like there are a few bits where he looks like he's forgotten his line.
Oh yeah, I hate it. I gotta say, I like hated the part where he like goes home to his girlfriend or whatever, and he like just like runs like some ice over her naked body, and it's just like these like close up shots of her, and I'm just like, you just wanted to do this, man. You just wanted to do this and shoot it on and then put it in your film. Like this isn't a good part of the film. I'm sorry. It
Yeah,
was like
apparently
he was getting his rocks off.
Yeah, apparently she was super uncomfortable doing it as well. Like, I'm pretty sure she like the reason why you only see her chest and not her whole body was because she was like crying because of how uncomfortable she felt.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
In hindsight,
That's-
she's like, yeah, I think I was probably overreacting a bit, and she's done like nude scenes and stuff since then. But I think it was just because she was so young and new to everything. It just
Yeah.
the idea of doing something like that was just a lot for her.
But like what? He was like rubbing ice on her nipples as she was like crying? Like what the
Yeah.
fuck?
It's just like-
That's like when you say, you know what, we're not going to do this. We got to stop. Surely.
Yeah, you'd think. I like Spike Lee's films, but I don't like him as a person. He just seems like an arsehole. Not just for that, but like loads of things that he's done and said.
Yeah.
I love Danny Aiello as the character of Sal. He's probably my favourite character in the film. He's just like this
Mhm.
incredibly conflicted character who like eventually like he seems like pretty okay with the black community. He's like obviously a lot of them have grown up around him, so he like really feels part of this community, and then this big thing happens and he finally like snaps and says all these racial slurs, even though like it's obvious that he doesn't actually feel that way, and obviously his entire life is ruined just because of that, and I feel really bad for him in the end.
Yeah. There's a lot leading up to it. I like the build up as well. It never feels like forced. It's never like, oh, we just watch these characters hang out. All of a sudden he's smashing a boombox and he's yelling racial slurs at people. Like you see where it's all coming from. You see like bugging out. He's like led this like boycott of Sal's where he wants like some black people on his wall. It's like he doesn't have to do that, man. It's his pizzeria. He can do what he wants. But it's like I get it. I get it. And I do like the character a lot. But it's like you probably shouldn't have done that, man, should you?
No. I think the final act is incredibly tense and disturbing. Obviously, the whole film we're going to get into spoilers now, but the whole film's kind of, there's this constant intensity throughout that builds up until the last like 15 minutes where Radio Raheem and Bugging Out snap at Sal, like, cause he's like telling them to turn the music down. He was refusing to put a picture of a black person up on the wall, and like Sal just destroys the boombox, starts throwing all these racial slurs at them, and it leads to this big fight. The police then come and basically choke Radio Raheem to death, and it leads to this huge riot, and that whole sequence is so fucked up. I think just because it parallels so much of what's going on at the moment. When I watched it for the first time last year, it was like during that like 2 or 3 week period where there was loads of Black Lives Matters protests around America, and like the George Floyd stuff was just kicking off, and it just was even more disturbing, I think, because of that, because it just paralleled so much of what was going on at that point.
Yeah, it's almost real, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's horrifying. It's a horrifying moment when all that happens. And then, like, Radio Raheem, like he picks Sal up and then hauls him over the counter. I was like, Jesus Christ, this man is strong. But then, like, yeah, I get a lot from, like, this is such a sad moment when, like, Radio Raheem dies, but it's like, why... It would be less sad if this wasn't still happening. Like, if we like actually seen some sort of reform, but we haven't. So it's just even, like, more upsetting to me.
That's why I think this film's so important now. I honestly would recommend this film to literally anyone, because I think it just portrays that so well, and it just reminds people just how fucked up, like, racism and prejudice and stuff like that still is, and how rife it is, and how much needs to be done to fix the horrors of the world.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but is that ever really going to happen? Probably not in our lifetime.
Maybe not.
We can dream.
But
it's
all we can do
optimistic
is
thinking.
try
and
spread the message.
Yeah.
We just got to fight the power.
Yeah.
Mate, well, half the monarchy's dead. Well, one of the main ones are. We just got to wait for the other one to kick the bucket now, and our revolution can begin.
Yeah.
Then it'll be great.
Yeah. We'll be shot in our beds, just like your nan said.
Yeah. The Queen is the only person keeping the military from killing us all on the street.
No, not the law, just the Queen.
I've got loads of notes, but I'll just scrap some of them and just talk about a couple more things so we can move on to the great second film of the week. I love there's like constant references throughout to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Obviously, you've got the character of Smiley, who has a speech impediment, and he's going around talking about them and like selling pictures of them. And at the end, when like the pizzeria is being burnt down, he sticks the 2 pictures up on the wall. And obviously, the film closes with these 2 quotes from him, and I think it just sums up the themes of the film perfectly. Like, 'cause there were 2 men who had the exact same end goals, but they took different paths to make it happen. And I think there's almost this sense of morality watching the film where you're kind of left to say, was the rioting and stuff necessary? Or like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of what he's going for. And that's why I've loved the fact he uses 2 quotes instead of using just one from one of them. Like, it allows you as the audience to interpret what you think the theme is.
Yeah, I think the rioting was like, you could argue whether it was necessary or not, but it was more just like a reaction that turned on a dime when Radio Raheem died. It's like, it wasn't like planned.
No.
But you gets across like this anger and this like sadness that this is just always happening, and it's not been stopping. It's just getting worse, if anything. So I understand where they're coming from, for sure.
Yeah. The title of the film actually comes from a Malcolm X quotation. And obviously, the mayor says it at one point where he says, "You've got to do the right thing." That was a Malcolm X quote.
It was like, he said it to Mookie. He's like, "I'm working." He's like, "Doctor, always do the right thing." Mookie's like, "That's it? That's it."
Yeah. Apparently, the word fuck is used 240 times in the film. Like
Yeah,
on
I'm
an
not
average,
surprised.
it's used twice per minute.
Yeah. Like when Radio Raheem goes into Sal's Pizzeria and he's like, hey, put some extra mozzarella on that motherfucker and shit.
It's great.
one of the
I'm
best lines in
surprised
the
it's
movie, I
not
love it.
like higher than that, because
Yeah,
every
same.
fucking every line someone was saying fuck. It's like when Spike Lee's character saw his girlfriend, he was like, you need to stop cussing. She's like, I don't fucking cuss. Well, I don't cuss that fucking much or something.
I think she says it more than anyone. She's only in like 3 scenes.
Yeah. He just sort of sits there, just repeats her line.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the film's only an 18 because of the amount of swearing in it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that and the nipple crying woman.
Oh yeah, maybe that as well. One interesting bit of trivia before we wrap it up. Apparently, Barack and Michelle Obama saw this film on their first date.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah. Maybe this was what brought them together. If they saw a different film, maybe they wouldn't have stayed together.
Or if it was
Yeah.
Titanic, bunch of rich white people just drowning.
Would be pretty impressive considering Titanic came out 8 years later.
Mm.
Oh, well.
They had seen like Happiness.
I think they were going to see Drying Miss Daisy or something, and they chose to see Do the Right Thing instead because like it's sold out or something. I can't
Do you know what, you
remember.
can find that out if you have a Spotify account, because you've definitely been notified about Michelle Obama's podcast.
Oh, yeah. That Barack Obama's one with Bruce Springsteen. All the Obama podcasts.
Yep.
Have you got anything else to say, either of you two, or should we wrap it up?
I like the part like at the end where like the mayor and her mother's sister are like waking up, and then he says, "I hope the block is still standing," and she says, "We're still standing." I love that.
Oh yeah, that's a great line.
Right.
Just
That's
all
it.
around great writing.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So should we rate this out of mozzarellas?
Mozzarellas. Yeah.
Extra cheese is $2.
Yeah, I love this film so much. This is like easily a top 10 favorite for me. It just gets better every time I see it. I think I watched it for the first time last summer, just on a whim, and I recommended it on Cold to the Touch, the podcast I used to do, and rewatched it like a day or two later because I just loved it so much. So I've seen it like about 4 times now, and I just love it so much. It just gets better every time I watch it. Incredibly powerful filmmaking. I'm going to give it 10 mozzarellas out of 10.
Nice. Yeah. Love this movie. I got the Blu-ray. It's like, it's maybe not a movie that's like, you can have like bag loads to say about it, but it's like, it's a nice hangout movie with a lot of like important themes, I think. And you probably should watch it. It's one of the, it's a very important movie. So I'm going to give it 9 mozzarellas out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. Definitely has a lot of importance to say about the world that it was created in and the times that we're living in now. I think we've gone over the acting was good, writing was good, camera technical work was good. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 mozzarellas out of 10.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm happy the film's now on like every streaming service suddenly. Like when I watched it, it was only on Now TV, and then in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been added to Prime and Netflix as well.
That's decent.
Yeah, so you have no excuse. Go watch it if you haven't.
No excuses. Go watch it now.
But before you watch that movie, there's another movie you should watch.
That is my recommendation, directed by Michael John Warren from the year 2013. It is called Shrek the Musical. It is it's a Broadway stage play adaptation of the much-loved classic DreamWorks animated movie from 2001. The story is based mostly on the story from the original movie, where an ogre named Shrek goes on a quest with Donkey to rescue the Princess Fiona to bring her to Lord Farquaad and get his swamp back. Except this time, it's a musical, and it's on stage. So what do we think of this?
This movie was god awful. I don't know why you made me watch it. Like, originally I was just going to do some editing work while watching it, so I didn't pay much attention. but after like 5 minutes, I was just staring at the screen and I was just unable to move. It like paralyzed me with disgust. And I was just sat there watching this Scottish guy, or if he's even Scottish, just pretend to be Shrek.
He's not Scottish.
He doesn't sound it. And the fucking voiceover man sounded more like Michael Myers than this guy did.
Yeah,
and then Donkey shows up.
It starts off with voiceover from Mike Myers, and then it goes into Shrek, like some guy doing the worst Shrek impression I've ever heard.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought it sounded like Mike Myers, but I didn't realise it was him.
Yeah. At first I was like, oh, okay, like they've got a guy who like actually can do a really good Shrek impression. And then when he actually comes out, I'm like, oh, it was clearly a different person.
It's fucking awful. It's so bad.
Yeah.
They probably got him to play Shrek because he's tall and the politest way possible, fat.
Yeah. I started watching this film. I got about 10 minutes in and I told my girlfriend that I was watching it. And she was like, oh, can I call you and we can watch it together? So she watched the rest of it with me on the phone. And she was...
Oh, so she didn't even, like, watch the whole of it, and she had the gall, the sheer gall,
Max,
to text
you don't
me
need
and be like,
the first
how
10
dare
minutes
you
of the
make
movie
me watch
is
this?
the first 10 minutes of this movie are not going to redeem it. Like,
No.
if you watch the rest of the movie, the first 10 is still shit.
Like, she missed out on nothing. She missed out on the origin of Shrek, like finding out his parents abandoned him as a kid, and you find out that all the villagers hate Shrek. Like,
Yeah.
There's nothing important. She didn't miss out on anything. She still experienced 2 hours of this because for some reason it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's like 40 minutes longer than the original Shrek.
Yeah. Oh, it's way too long. It's way too long. And I was like, oh, what makes it so long? Well, obviously it's going to be more songs, isn't it? More songs and more story beats that have nothing to do with the original. Like, if the original is like an hour and a half long, it needs to be an hour and a half long to tell the story that it's going for. If it were any longer, it would be like just tacked on scenes that were completely pointless. And that's exactly what this is. It's terrible.
I think the whole thing is just a tacked on play that is pointless.
It is. It's like I hated the music, honestly. The music sucked, man. It was so bad. Like, it was so boring. I don't remember any of it. I wrote down like, oh yeah, I like one of the songs was all right, but then like I don't even remember it now. That whole part with Shrek's parents was actually embarrassing. This whole play was embarrassing. I can't.
Why do you recommend it? What made you want to watch it?
You know, I'm really into Shrek, and I want to watch everything to do with Shrek.
He just picked it for the meme because he thought it would be funny to make us watch it.
Yeah, of course, because I thought it was going to be bad, but it had the potential to be all right. I don't know, like it's like a really successful Broadway stage play. I'm just like, why?
Is it?
Why is it so successful? Yeah, it's really successful. I'm like, the audience was having a whale of a time, but why?
Yeah,
who's going to see this?
Obviously, it came to the West End and like went on 2 super successful UK tours. I know a couple people who've actually seen it live.
Oh my god!
Funny enough,
Jesus.
they're in a coma now.
One of them said it was amazing. The other person doesn't remember any of it at all.
Wow. Kind of 2 polar opposite experiences there.
Yeah. Speaking of the music, the point of Shrek originally was that it makes fun of like fairy tale movies, and like a lot of that film is making fun of like classic Disney movies. So they decide with this Broadway musical, they'll like carry that on with music that's like features loads of references to other musicals. So there's like random like tiny riffs and like lyrics and stuff taken from other musicals, but where the original film like satirized that stuff, in here it's just tacked on, like just like referencing it, and there's no joke to it. It's just them referencing that sort of stuff, and I don't think it works because unless you like know the musicals inside out, you're not going to know what they're singing about. Like I didn't notice any of it because I don't know any of the musicals that they were like referencing it. It was only when I read it up afterwards that I realised what they were going for.
Yeah, I don't know any of that either.
I don't even
don't
remember any of the film or musical.
No, I don't
No.
remember any of the songs. The 2 songs I remember in the whole film are when they do I'm a Believer at the end and when they do the puppet song from the film, which was done incredibly badly because the costumes are fucking terrifying. Like these people dressed up as puppets. And like what made that song funny is there's like the bit where obviously it all rhymes and then they like invert your expectations where you think it's going to say wipe your arse, but it says wipe your face instead, and there's like a long pause, and that pause is what makes it funny because like it's just like suddenly pulls the rug out from under you. But they don't do that in this. It's all connected, so it's like you've literally taken what made that joke funny and taken it out, and it just doesn't work.
They do that a lot in this, honestly. They repeat a lot of the same jokes from Shrek, but they do it terribly. It's like, you don't even understand. Like, I don't even think these people watch Shrek. I don't even think that most of them actually watched it. Like, you can't just, like, take the jokes from the original and do them just, like, deadpan and just, like, one word after the other and expect it to have the same kind of impact. It's not gonna happen. They don't understand about the comedic timing of Shrek. They don't understand. Like, I hate to like harp on about how great Shrek is, but it's genuinely a great movie. And it doesn't understand the source material. Like, well, the source material was a book, but it doesn't understand like the movie itself, and none of it works. It falls so flat. Like the part where like Donkey's singing that song to Shrek. Like, he's like, oh, you gotta have friends, and then Shrek's like, stop singing. It's like they make that into a whole song. They make that into a whole thing, like a whole song and dance. And I'm like, why? Why is this happening? They make up a song about Fiona growing up in the tower. She's like 5 years old, and then she's like singing a song about how her mother and father abandoned her and put her in a tower. And then she grows up and she's singing the same bloody song. Oh, it's so bad.
I actually think this movie gave me an aneurysm. It was terrible. It was god awful. I kind of think that the main guy may have actually thought that he was playing a character from Fallout. Like, he was playing like a super mutant. He had never fucking seen Shrek.
The makeup on him is not very good at all. Like, you can tell where the ears are glued on. Like, there's like a line surrounding him. Like, they didn't even like spend the extra 2 minutes it would take to cover that up.
Do you know what else is a bit stupid? Like, it's not that hard to just get like temporary dye and just dye his eyebrows green so they don't stick out. But his eyebrows, which Shrek doesn't have, are just like massive. And you're like, what?
It looked so weird. I think that's what makes him look so terrifying, because it doesn't fit. It's like this weird uncanny valley sort of shit.
I kind of think that he'd look more terrifying if it didn't look like he had eyebrows.
Yeah.
Did you notice,
maybe, actually,
when Fiona turned into an ogre, they put as little effort into her costumes as possible. Like, the ears, they stuck on top of her hair. You could see that they were stuck on top of her hair, not like buried like in between the hair. It's just like they put it on her head, and that was it.
I don't think it helps
awful.
the fact that she's meant to like transform into an ogre and then go back to normal like the next scene, so they have to like rush to get all that stuff on. Because apparently, like, for the main guy who plays Shrek, it took him like almost 2 hours a day to put the makeup on. So like they can't get it the exact same on the woman. So I kind of understand why it looks bad, but I don't think that's like really an excuse still.
No, because I mean Shrek still looks bad anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't look good.
2 hours and you came up with this, really.
I hated the actor of Donkey. He was bad. He
he annoyed me.
He was like kept going back and forth between like doing an Eddie Murphy impression and like being just like super ridiculous and camp and like very theatrical, and it just didn't work. He lacked any of the personality that Donkey had, and he was just completely unlikable and annoying.
Yeah, it was almost like he was trying to copy the character one for one, but just did a fucking horrible job rather than try and make it his own.
Yeah. Well, it's like Max said, you can tell that they're copying the film, but they don't understand what made the film good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. This is the issue. Like, it's a good film, but some changes will have to be made to make it a musical. Like, you're not going to be able to copy it like exact and it will make sense or it will be good. There needs to be some change. So the fact that they just tried to like take it from here and plop it there into a different complete mold, it's like, yeah, that's not going to work out.
I actually
They're
like
fucking
Fiona. I actually like the actor for Fiona. Like,
Yeah, she was alright.
a lot of these actors were like doing like just the worst impressions ever. But I feel like you don't need to make these characters 100% like they are in the movies. You don't need to do that. And I don't think the actor for Fiona like went that route. She was like very ditzy and like ooh, ah. And I preferred that over like trying to go for like a dead-on like Cameron Diaz in the movie, because I don't think that would have worked as well, because it's inherently more campy when you do it on stage.
I don't know, man. The actor who played Pinocchio sure did a stellar job.
That was horrifying. Horrifying, that
was. It was horrifying, but he nailed the voice.
I don't know if he did.
The voice was pretty good.
Yeah, watching his nose stretch was so creepy.
Yeah.
It's like they painted like the skin was painted wooden or something. That's what it looked like, but it's like obviously just like this costume. But it looked awful.
It
did. Well, honestly, I don't know if it looked awful so much as it like repulsed me. You know,
it did.
It's
look
like kind of a
awful.
different thing. Yeah.
All of the makeup
notice,
and
like,
set designs are just terrible. Like,
oh really?
I think some of them are all right, but for the most part, I just think like the general production value is just not great, and it cost $23 million to produce, and like this is the result.
Fuck,
just doesn't look good. Like at one point, you got dragons show up. It looks like it's made out of paper mache. It looks awful.
Jesus.
With Lord Farquaad, they couldn't even like get a short person to do it. So you've just got a man walking around on his knees with fake legs. It just looks terrible.
It's so noticeable as well. Farquaad was actually like awful. That whole thing was
you
piss.
Kind of say there was a shortage of midgets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like how they kind of allude to the fact that Lord Farquaad's father was one of the 7 dwarfs? And then it's like one of the 7 dwarves comes out at the end, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's my father!" Like what? What? Because he's short. That's the joke, is it? It's like they didn't do that in the movie. Why are you doing it? It just makes it longer. Stop doing this.
There's a lot of
and you
points
tell me like
that
it's like millions and millions of pounds worth of like production. Jesus Christ, that makes me hate it even more, because it's like, oh, you had all that money, you just did like shit with it. Like they're trying to like show like a passage of time when Shrek and Donkey are walking through the valleys, but like all they can do with that is like they have like this disc at the back that just like spins around to show like different landscapes, and it looks like just terrible.
Yeah, it is just such a badly done play. There's nothing about it I enjoy. There's like a point where it like in the audience, like obviously because it was done on a stage, there's like a few points where you hear one guy laughing louder than anyone else. Like every once in a while, I just hear this one guy's laugh coming through. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was the director just sat there trying to get the audience involved.
Maybe if I laugh,
maybe
they'll laugh too.
Yeah.
Or he just really loved it. Like if he didn't really love it, like honestly, if you're going for something like this and the director doesn't even love it, then like what's the point? Like
exactly, Max.
I don't have
a
problem with I don't have a problem with people loving this. Like you can think what you want to think, but like if anyone was to love this movie or this play, it's got to be the director, surely.
Well, you kind of hope that the actors love it as well.
No,
I don't know.
Sometimes they just do it for like a
laughing at it.
paycheck. They don't look like they're enjoying it. Fiona does. She was good.
Yeah.
But like that Farquaad suit was like abysmal. It's just like these like swimming pool noodles for feet. Looked horrible.
Yeah. Did you
like
guys
when Shrek
like?
does a backflip?
Oh yeah. Do you guys like when they have like a belch and fart off? That was
I don't like
extra epic.
anything about this movie or musical. It shouldn't have even been picked. It's a musical, not a movie.
Yeah, it doesn't really count.
Oh, it's fine. But that was like one of the worst parts of the movie for me.
Yeah,
that fart,
that made me
burp
cringe
thing.
so much.
They just like Shrek and Fiona farting and burping like after a song, like having this competition. And why are you doing this to me?
That's when an audience participation is not allowed.
People paid money to see this. Why are you
Yeah.
doing this?
And people paid $23 million to make this.
Yeah.
Honestly.
There's there's only like 2 songs I remember in the film. One of them's like the second one after Shrek's parents abandon him, where you got all the townspeople singing about how much they hate Shrek, and one of the characters uses the word tranny, which definitely does not fly. You definitely should not be saying that.
Especially not in the 2021.
No, I just, like, as soon as she said that, I was like kind of like in shock. I had to rewind it and pause it just to make sure that was definitely what they said. And you've also got a bit where Shrek sings a love song about Fiona, and all the lyrics are like meant to show how clumsy he is, how he always says like the wrong words and he doesn't know how to express his love. And it's just so cringy. It's not
Yeah, it was awful. That was awful. And it's like, he's like lamenting the fact that he's like an ogre a lot. Like he doesn't even like being an ogre. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you clearly didn't watch the movie, did you? Because you would know that Shrek loves being an ogre. That's his whole thing. He loves it. And it's like,
He owns
in this,
it.
they completely, yeah, he owns it, and it's his entire character. In this, they completely upend his entire character just to like peddle the fact that he hates being an outcast, and like he was abandoned by his parents that didn't need to be done. And it's just like in the movie, he's just like slurping on slugs and like dancing in the mud. He's
It
a
seems
great
to
guy.
be like they tried to give Shrek this emotional background to his character that just isn't there. Like, he doesn't fucking care about anything or anyone until he gets like the second and third movie. But like in the first movie, he really doesn't care about anyone else. He loves being on his own. He loves being an ogre. He loves the fact that people are scared of him. And this movie is like, I fucking hate it. And you're like, no, what?
Well, the
They're
point
trying
of
to
the
give him all this
characters,
emotional depth for no reason.
yeah. The point of the character's arc in the original movie is that he starts off as an outsider who hates literally everyone and gets joy out of like scaring the villagers and the fact that everyone hates him. And as the film progresses, he like makes a friend. He like falls in love. He like finally learns how to accept other people into his life, and he grows as a person. But in this film, like they don't really do that at all. At least like it seems like they try to do that, but at the same time he's like constantly upset about the fact that he's a loner and that he has no one, and it just doesn't work. Like they completely misunderstand the character.
Yeah, they try to develop a relationship between Shrek and Fiona in this, and with half an hour more, you would expect them maybe to do it like as good, if not better, than the original, because you have more time to develop the relationship and the dynamic. They don't do that here. Like in the original movie, yeah, they do it even worse. In the original movie, it's like eked out, and you understand, like, as Fiona comes into Shrek's life, he's like, he sees things differently, and she shows him different parts of the world that he thought were like terrible before. And in this, they have like one song where they say, "Oh, your parents abandoned you as a child? My parents abandoned me as a child. I guess we love each other now." And then they do a fart and burp contest. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
And like in the original Shrek movie as well, Fiona decides to give up like pretty much like her looks and her, let's say, human side of life, shall we say, to be with Shrek. And that's, I'd say, her character development from going from she needs a knight in shining armor to realizing that she just needed someone to actually care about her, which was Shrek. Yeah, not in this one.
No. I've gone through all my notes. I don't know.
Can we give it the
if
ratings,
we have
please, now,
anything
Max?
else to say.
Please don't make us carry on talking about this movie. No,
There's
no buts. No.
a couple of things. Well, there's like when Shrek and Fiona are like falling in love, like you see like Shrek's thought process being said literally by Donkey, when in the movie that was communicated with like a few looks, and he's like sitting there, and then he was like, I was wondering, are you gonna eat that? Like that was all that had to be done in that movie. But instead, like Donkey's singing a song while he's like up against them, in the middle of them, being like, "And Shrek can't decide whether he loves her. Oh, how can he say that he loves her? He's such a smelly ogre." And it's like, you didn't need to do that. Like that was communicated with like a look in the original
See,
movie. Why
This
are
is
you
what I
doing
mean. by it like it can't be the same. In musicals, this stuff is normal. Like things are exaggerated like that. It's not uncommon. So I don't think we can judge this on being not a we can't say it's copied the Shrek movie and then say it's done something different, because then it's not copied the movie whatsoever, or it's not tried to. This is why we don't recommend musicals, because they're fucking weird.
Well,
recommend
you say
good
that,
musicals. There are good musicals out there.
Good musicals.
Yeah, man.
Max has recommended 2, and they've both been absolute shit.
Yeah, well, don't worry, because I've got another musical in the pipeline, and you'll all be sorry when I recommend that one.
It's called the Sunday Movie Marathon, not the Sunday Musical Marathon. If you want a musical,
Yeah, you can
watch
do
it on your own
movies.
time.
You can have musical movies.
No, you can't.
And there's, like-
Mamma Mia. Unless your recommendation's not Mamma Mia.
There was like a point where like Donkey finds out about Fiona, and then Shrek was like, "Oh, she thinks that I'm a smelly ogre," and he was like, "Oh, she wasn't talking about you. She was talking about herself." And then Shrek goes, "Who was she talking about?" It's like, oh, you couldn't infer that from Donkey already saying like most of that word. In like the movie, it cuts off. It doesn't even say herself. He was like, "Oh, she was talking about someone else." Like, you can't say like most of the word and then be like, "Oh, what? She said what? She was talking about who?" It sucked, man. It's so terrible. Let's do the ratings.
Okay, should we rate it out of onions?
Max, is
Classic.
this the first time
Shrek.
you've watched this musical, by the way?
Yeah.
Right. Just wanted to. I didn't know whether you actually watched it, liked it, and wanted us to watch it.
God, no. Absolutely not.
So out of onions. This is garbage. This is the worst thing I've had to watch for this podcast so far. I had an absolutely miserable time. Didn't enjoy a single thing about it. There's literally nothing redeemable about this in any shape or form. I give this 0 onions out of 10.
Oh, God.
I'm just happy someone liked Paranormal Ascendancy more than this movie.
Yeah, I had a better time watching that because it was actually funny because it was so bad. This was just uncomfortable.
But don't you think, like, if we'd have watched this together, that it would have been, like, a better experience?
Probably not.
No? Oh.
I think it's always fun watching bad films with friends, but I feel like anything that you could laugh at ironically in this film, you'd watch in the first 5-10 minutes. Not like after that, like you've just basically seen everything this film has to offer. After that, it's just like 2 hours of just the same thing, just progressively getting more and more painful to watch.
I'd much rather just watch the original Shrek than watch this.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's
I was
way better.
tempted to watch the original after finishing it, just so I could have something good, but
Funnily
Nothing else.
enough,
against it.
the day that I watched this movie, I then went on Warzone later that night to play with my friends, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, I did the Shrek marathon today and just watched all the Shrek movies." I was like, "Oh, did you watch Shrek the Musical?" And he was like, "No, I didn't watch that one." I was like, "Well, you're fucking lucky you didn't." I was like, "I did, and it's terrible."
Yeah. Well, I guess I like some of the costumes. I like Fiona was having a good time, the actor. I liked her. But the rest of it was pretty poor. Pretty terrible. I can't even like recommend this if you're like drunk and like want to have like a funny time. It's really bad. Don't even bother with it. Downvote it on Netflix, even though you haven't seen it. Just do that for me. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it 2 onions out of 10.
I am not even going to justify this film with an opinion. 0.
Yeah.
0 onions out of 10.
That was, I think, my review on Letterboxd. I just said this film doesn't deserve a numerical rating or something.
Nice. Was it better than Repo or worse?
Repo was better.
Worse. Yeah, Repo was better, but not by much, because that movie was still bad.
I never expected I'd say something was better than...
Well, Repo was better than...
Yeah,
than
I
another
didn't
movie.
expect to ever say Repo was better than something, but it happened.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I've done it.
What would you rather do? Watch Paranormal Ascendancy or Repo?
Paranormal Ascendancy. At least that was funny.
I would say the
Yeah.
same.
I might say the same, honestly. Even though I like Repo more than Paranormal Ascendancy, but maybe I just haven't seen Paranormal Ascendancy in a while.
Did
So-
you actually like that Repo film?
No, but I liked it more than, Shrek the Musical.
Don't worry, I've still got the DVD for Paranormal Ascendancy, so when lockdown's over, we can all watch it again.
Oh,
The funny
can't
thing
wait.
is, I don't remember turning it when we were watching Paranormal Ascendancy. I don't remember ever looking at Max. So a part of me feels like throughout the whole entire movie, he literally just was in a coma, traumatized by the whole experience.
Definitely felt like it.
Do you want to know? Do you know why that film was originally called 3 a.m.?
'Cause
That's when
That's
you're supposed to
when-
watch it.
it's when the demon shows up.
Well, yeah, but there's a reason for it. Look, it's wrong anyway. Hour of the Witch is 3:30 a.m., which is when if anything paranormal was going to happen, it would be most likely to happen. The film got the fucking title wrong because it's not even referenced to what it was referring to, and then they changed it and it was shit. Anyway, on to my recommendation, which was Shutter
That
Island
movie.
this week.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Martin
so
that movie was not
Scorsese
made by
film.
smart people, so...
Say
I'm
again,
not
sorry.
surprised. I said it was not made by smart people, so
No,
that's
no.
probably why.
It wasn't made by smart people, but it did a better blue light filter than Piano did. So swings and roundabouts, mate. So Shutter Island film came out in 2010, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, what is it? What's the guy from
Mark Ruffalo?
No, it's got Mark Ruffalo, but there's another one I can't remember.
Ben Kingsley?
Ben Kingsley, that's it. So it's got them three as like sort of the main actors in it, and it depicts two U.S. Marshals going to an island to find an escaped patient. You then later find out in the movie that one of the Marshals is actually a patient at Shutter Island. What do we think of it?
It was good. I like this movie a lot.
Review done. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks, Martin Scorsese. Love you, man.
Which is
It's a million out of 10 for me.
Before you say anything, it's really funny because the week before picking this movie, I was slagging Martin Scorsese off saying I don't like him. I still don't like him. I just didn't realize this movie was directed by him.
Yeah. It's good. It's maybe not the best Martin Scorsese movie ever. Maybe not the best Leonardo DiCaprio movie ever. But I like it. I think it's very solid. I think it's a solid mystery movie with a lot of great filmmaking, a lot of great camera work, coloring, music, and just a good premise that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I thought this movie was pretty good. I didn't love it. This is like, I'm a huge fan of Martin Scorsese. He's like one of my favorite directors, and I'd never watched this film before, and I feel like...
Just has really shit opinions.
Well, let's agree to disagree. I feel like for me, this is kind of on the lesser end of his filmography from what I've seen so far. Not to say it's bad or anything. I didn't love this movie. And I think a lot of that has to do with, the fact that I've heard nothing but incredible things about this film for 10 years. So I went in with super high expectations. As well as that, I had the plot twist spoiled for me already. So I went in knowing exactly what was going to happen with incredibly high expectations. And I think that kind of just soured the entire experience. So I came away from it like, yeah, there was a lot I really liked about that film, but overall I'm not sure I really enjoyed the experience that much.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of killer of any movie, really, isn't it? Like or high expectations. And this is the thing. This is why whenever like people try and describe a movie to me or something, I don't really pay that much attention because I'm like, if you overhype this for me, then I'll go and watch this movie. It's going to be terrible. Like, there have been TV shows. I don't really do it with movies that much because I spoil every movie for myself anyway. I don't really care. But there have been TV shows that I've watched where I've watched theory videos, and I'm like, oh, this sounds really good. This sounds really good. And then I watch the episode or the season finale or whatever it is, and I'm just like, oh, that was actually quite shit. This is nothing like I thought it was going to be. And
yeah,
I too also went in knowing the plot twist to this film, which made me realize a few things as I was watching it. So, at the beginning of the film, when Mark Ruffalo and fucking Leonardo DiCaprio's character are on the boat and they're traveling to Shutter Island. So they're talking about like the patients and all the treatments that they've got there. And Leonardo DiCaprio's character says like something about their treatments being really good. And then Mark Ruffalo's character says like, well, if they were really good, they wouldn't have needed us. And like fast forward to that, like they get off the boat and then they're like talking to the prison guards or the guards at the Shutter Island. And they get in the car, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character is sat behind the main general guy on the island. And he goes, "You look a little bit tense." And he goes, "Well, at this point in time, I am." And I was like, because I already knew the plot twist to this movie, that it was Leonardo DiCaprio's character that is a patient there. I was like, these are just like subtle references to like when you know it and then watch it back, you pick up on them that they were really talking about him.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's like, I really like the twist and I like how they set it up, but it's also like once you know the plot twist of the movie, it kind of makes more things seem a bit implausible. So like it's like, oh, even though it's like this setup to try and heal, what was his name, Andrew or Teddy, as he calls himself, to like get him to admit that he'd done this like horrible thing, or like that he'd killed his wife after his children had died, so as not to suffer the delusion. It's like, okay, so if they're doing this, they've set all this up. Why they so they got them the suits, did they? They got them the suits and the hats and the coats. They did all that.
yeah.
Like this whole hospital was in on it, and they like forks out the money to like hire out these like suits and hats and coats. They just had those.
Well,
and, like, gave it to him.
They did say
and then, like,
it was an experimental treatment, which would have made them very successful if it would work. So yeah, they were willing to put a lot of money into it. If it's the same with any experiment, same with like vaccine trials nowadays, people are willing to put loads of money into it on the hopes that it will work to catapult them into success.
Yeah,
and if this treatment worked, then they'd be able to cure loads of their inmates. So of course they'd be willing to put like a shit ton of money and effort into doing it.
Yeah, didn't they say it was like the most extravagant like experiment ever in that field as well at one point?
Yeah, so that's fine, I guess. I rescind my criticism on that one. But then also, like, if they do this on like a loop, it's been going on forever now, like, or just a while. How'd they get him on the boat in the first place?
Knock him out, drunk.
He's on a boat and he wakes up and he's like thrown up. Like, if they do that every time, it's like, how do you get on the boat?
Yeah, I will agree that there are some things that don't completely add up. But apart from that, I do think it's actually a very well written film. Like, there's like constant like clues and stuff throughout to like the plot twist that you'd only pick up if you know it or if you've seen the film already. And there's like multiple like intentional continuity errors as well that I appreciated.
Yeah.
Kind of like confused me a little bit to the point where I was like, okay, is this actually like the film that I'm thinking of? But yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's like they're interrogating this woman, and she's like, "Can I have a glass of water?" So like Mark Ruffalo gets up to bring her a glass of water, and he hands her the glass of water, and she brings it up to her mouth, but like she's not holding the glass anymore. And then it cuts, and like she puts the glass down, and it's empty.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like the editing is like really great in this.
That is one thing that like, how could you miss out on that?
Yeah, I noticed that, but I wasn't sure whether it's like just a really, really terrible continuity error.
No, come on. I mean, like, even the actor is not going to be like, yeah, I'm not holding a glass. Like, surely she'd be like, yeah, can you give me a glass here? And then Scorsese's just going to be like, no, I'll just put it in post-production. I can't be bothered.
We'll see.
He's not that kind of director. It was definitely
honestly be surprised at the amount of films that have like really small, stupid continuity errors like that.
Wait, Max, are you saying... Sorry, Chris, carry on, sorry.
But I was surprised to see that in a Scorsese film, which is why when I found out afterwards that it was intentional, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, was it intentional?
Of course it was. Of course it was.
There's a lot of
what? They're going to actually CG a glass into her hand?
No. I thought they may have just fucked up the editing.
No.
Oh, fair
They
enough.
had to like actually shoot. They shot that then, did they?
I don't know.
It's like, it's not to do with the editing. That shot exists.
Movie came out 11 years ago.
Yeah, they were like primates back in those days. Primal beings that couldn't stitch a movie together to save their lives.
Didn't know how to use the Control K call on Premiere Pro.
I love like the look of the movie. It's like these like really overcast clouds. The clouds like amazing, and the like we see like Teddy's memories, and it's like this great juxtaposition between like the bleak palette of the island and his memories of like home, where it's all like very vibrant colors. I really enjoy that.
Yeah,
I think
Oh, carry on. Sorry.
I think the framing camera works like all really good. There's like loads of good close-ups that I like especially when they first arrive at the island, like when they're like showing off their badges, and there's like a bit where someone presses the buzzer to open the door. Like those like really quick cut, like really close-ups remind me of something from like an Edgar Wright movie. I really like that stuff.
Yeah, you guys noticed the song "On the Nature of Daylight" by Max Richter playing a few times in this movie. It's like it happens when Teddy's like in his dream. That was the song from Arrival. I love that song so much, and it's used like quite a lot in this movie. I really like its usage here too.
I do love the music. Like they didn't use like a traditional composer to write a score. Scorsese basically just used loads of like pieces of modern classical music, and I think it really fits the tone and like adds like incredible tension, especially like in the sequence when they first come onto the island, and in like all the dream sequences later on. And also like apparently the music at the beginning when you see like the Paramount logo and there's the credits, apparently that's like a song from the soundtrack for The Shining. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, really well used.
Speaking of those dream sequences, I find them all super, super creepy. There's so many of them where it's literally just like Teddy looking over Holocaust victims, and there's like really discordant pianos, and like there's just blood everywhere. All of that stuff is like really quite creepy and terrifying in a way. It's also like a bit I really loved where you see him like smoking. It's like a really, really short shot where like it's in reverse, so you just see like the smoke slowly going back into the cigarette. I just love
fantastic.
The really subtle, great editing choices like that throughout.
That was one of my favorite shots in the movie, definitely. Even though it's so small, but it's like, oh, it's so good. And then like when like he's in the dream and he's holding his wife, and she's like leaking with like water as she's like crumbling to dust from like the fire that's going on.
That shot was amazing.
That was such a good moment.
It like calls like to like the fact that she was like in the water, like drowning her kids, and then also that like Teddy's got this like thing in his head that like there's this woman called Rachel Solando, and like her family died in a fire or something. Or like no, his family died in a fire, wasn't it? Where this guy called like Ladis
and it was actually his name, Andrew Ladis, isn't it?
Yeah. But he's got this notion in his head that somebody else is called Ladis, and he started the fire that killed his wife. So you've got like that, the fire aspect and the water aspect that like come together in this one shot that I really think is very well executed.
Yeah. I really loved the bit where his wife talks about how she killed their children, and he like runs into the ocean or the sea near their house and like picks up one of them. It reminds me a lot of the opening scene from Don't Look Now. I don't know if it was like an intentional like reference or homage or something, but I thought that was pretty cool. Similarity between the two.
Yeah, that's probably an homage. But I mean, well, just like every time you see a kid in the water, it's like, oh, it's like Don't Look Now. I don't know. But that like really disturbed me when I saw like the kids like face down in the water. It's like this horrible, horrible gut feeling where like the music's going off and like Leonardo DiCaprio is like screaming. It's like terrifying. Oh, that 2010 was like the year of Leonardo DiCaprio being in movies where his wife is dead, but he sees her anyway.
It's quite weird that he was in two films that year with the same thing happening to his character.
One thing I don't really like about the movie is like what I see in like a lot of like mystery movies or something where it's like, oh, it's the same name, but it's an anagram and you thought it up because you're delusional.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've seen that a million times. It's
I mean,
not fun.
Not only did it to one name this time, did it to 3 or 2, sorry.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I don't really like that. Like the reveal itself I quite like, but it's like how they get there is not completely like solid. I don't know.
The only thing that I don't like is that I didn't like the exposition dump at the very end of the movie where Ben Kingsley's character is just pretty much explaining everything to him and the twist. Like, I understand, like, for me, when I was watching it, it just went from, because I knew the twist was coming, I was waiting for, Leonardo DiCaprio's character to realize it himself, not to get to, like, the Ben Kingsley's character and then him just reveal everything to him. Maybe it was part of the process that they needed to do, but I was half expecting him to get there himself and not have to be told pretty much everything from a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
going back to like the anagram as well. You know, the whole title is an anagram of truth and lies.
Is it?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's something I like. I like that.
There are a lot of really smart things about the film, to be fair.
Yeah. It's a really intelligently made film. You like I didn't get like why they would let him, like Leonardo DiCaprio, just like climb down this cliff if like it was all about him. Like he could easily have died. So why did they let him climb down the cliff?
Part of the risk, man. High risk, high reward.
If he dies, then he's no longer their problem.
There you go. If he succeeds, then they win. If he doesn't, then they don't have to worry.
I like when he sees Rachel Salondo in the cave. He meets her, and like after they've had like this talk, and then like he sleeps in the cave, and then she wakes him up, and then he's like, "Oh, I've got to go find my friend," and she's like, "Marshall, you have no friends." That was hilarious.
That was a good scene.
It wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was really funny.
I like how a lot of the second half basically just turns into like a straight up horror movie almost, with like Leonardo DiCaprio like walking around like the annals of this mental hospital, like in the dark like bit where you go into like almost like a prison sort of area. There's like multiple jump scares and like super disturbing imagery. I thought that stuff was quite creepy.
Yeah, he gets jumped on by some guy.
Yeah, he jumps on him like multiple times. Did feel like after the first time it was maybe unnecessary for him to do it a couple more times and have like the same jump scare sound effect and everything each time.
Yeah, whatever. He was crazy. He was a crazy guy.
Yeah,
but I like that. It was like this great set. I really enjoyed, and they used like the camera really really well in it. There's like a part where like the camera's like going from above and he's like walking across this bridge and it just does this like 90-degree turn. Well, it's 180 turn. It's really interesting.
I think just like asylums and mental hospitals and stuff are a really good setting for like a dark thriller or a horror movie. So I do think that works quite well.
Yeah, sometimes maybe it can be like if you take on that kind of setting, you run the risk of making it too dark or like it's just like a boring horror movie. But this one, it uses it very well. I don't think Martin Scorsese knows how to do that.
No.
There's like a lot of like green screen, if you notice that.
Yeah,
like
I did.
It's very noticeable. But I kind of feel like I didn't really mind it because if it was like set in 1954 and it felt like it evoked the feeling of cinema like back in the 50s or like just early cinema as a whole. So I thought that was like quite fun. But sometimes it could take me out of it. Like when like they're driving through like the forest type place. And like you can see that it's on a green screen and like the shadows on their faces aren't moving at all.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, like you said, the film kind of, especially in like the first half, has like a very like film noir detective sort of feel to it, which is definitely what was big in the 50s. So definitely makes a bit of sense.
Mm-hmm. They didn't put any like makeup on Leonardo DiCaprio when they showed him back in like World War II. It's like maybe like 10 years have passed since then. But it's like he hasn't aged a day. Just look exactly the same.
He looked pretty young in the film just generally anyway, so I think you can get away with that kind of.
Yeah, true.
There was a couple bits I noticed where there was like some weird like dubbing issues. Like there's a scene where they arrive to the island and they're introduced by McPherson, the guy's played by the guys like in Fargo and Zodiac and stuff. And there's like a point where he's like introducing like the buildings and stuff, and like for some reason it's like dubbed in but not mixed very well, because like the dubbed in stuff sounds like incredibly clear and then it gets to the other bit which sounds a little bit more muffled. That's like incredibly nitpicky, but that was just like something I noticed.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I recognised that.
I don't think most people would have recognised it. It was just something I happened to hear.
Yeah.
It's not something that ruins the film. It's just something I noticed.
No, sure.
Yeah, once you notice it, you can't unnotice it.
Yeah.
That's the thing about these movies, huh? Once you know it.
What are we? Some sort of movie reviewing podcast?
Yeah. As much as I love Martin Scorsese, I feel like this is the film I've seen out of his that feels the least like one of his films. It's like a lot of his films like have that like gangster sort of 70s gritty sort of feel, or they like just stand on their own as like this really unique film that isn't like, doesn't remind me of any director or reminds me of loads and loads of different directors. But this film just kind of just reminds me of like a David Fincher or Christopher Nolan film all throughout. Like if I didn't know it was a Martin Scorsese film, I doubt I would have been able to pick it up at all. I probably would have said, oh, it's like maybe a David Fincher or Christopher Nolan film, because it just feels very much like those two directors.
Yeah, I'll agree. Although I don't really mind that, to be honest. I think you could do a movie that doesn't feel like anything you've done before. Maybe I enjoy like his kind of staple movies that feel like him a bit more, but this is still like incredibly solid. I don't really mind that I don't get like a definite director feel from it. If it's just like it's trying to emulate kind of movies of like film noir, like you said. So maybe that's why it doesn't really feel like it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't have any notes left. Don't know about you guys.
No, I don't.
Yeah, not really. I just think it's quite solid. It's quite a solid murder mystery movie with lots of different moving parts, and I don't know if I enjoyed it more or less on this go round because I've seen it before. Maybe about the same, honestly. I think the acting is all pretty great. I love Leonardo DiCaprio. He's probably one of my favourite actors. Mark Ruffalo is really brilliant in this, as is Ben Kingsley. And I would probably watch it again, but maybe not for a while.
Yeah. I get the feeling that I'd probably enjoy it much more a second time around now that I know what it is. Like, I'm not going in with a certain set of expectations. I know what's going to happen. I think I'll enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, maybe. There's like, you guys notice like the shot where Mark Ruffalo and Leonardo DiCaprio are interrogating the inmates, and like when it goes on like a close-up shot of Leonardo DiCaprio, there's like a guard behind him in the back, and then when it cuts to the shot of the inmate on a close-up, there's also a guard behind them in the back, but when it cuts to a shot of Mark Ruffalo on a close-up, there's no guard behind him.
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, that was like because he's like an inmate there guarding him as well. So I like that. Maybe I picked that up on this time around, and not the first time. But
nice.
That was really interesting. Ratings?
Yeah. What are we going to rate it out of?
Glasses of water.
Fake
Sure.
glasses of water.
Yeah, I did enjoy the movie. I think it's a very well made movie. I just think the fact that I went in knowing exactly what was going to happen and like having it so overly hyped up for me, I kind of felt a bit disappointed in a way. I'd definitely rewatch it at some point because I feel like I'd probably enjoy it a lot more. But for now, I'll give it 6 glasses of water out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, I really like it. I like it on a second watch, probably just as much. You guys know that Mark Ruffalo won the role of Chuck after sending Martin Scorsese a fan letter saying how much he wanted to work with him.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Maybe I'll do that and he'll put me in one of his films.
Yeah. There was also, like, before settling on Mark Ruffalo for the role, Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese also considered Robert Downey Jr. and Josh Brolin. I think they're good actors.
All
I
people
think,
that are still in the MCU.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. A lot of them in this movie. Maybe I would have... I think I prefer Mark Ruffalo for the role. He does it. He does the role justice. Robert Downey Jr. has kind of like more of like a charismatic angle to his acting that I feel like the character doesn't really need. And Josh Brolin, I really like Josh Brolin, but probably prefer Mark Ruffalo in the role. But it's difficult to like compare if you've not seen them like all in the same role, I guess. But yeah, really good movie. I'm gonna give it an 8 glasses of water out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, this is my first time watching this movie. Been wanting to watch it for a while. Like Chris, I think going in with the twist spoiled for me. Well, spoiled it myself. Kind of, it somewhat dampened the movie, but then it also made parts a lot better because I've realised, because of knowing the twist, like things that were subtly hinting towards it throughout the movie. Acting was good, writing was good. I think we've spoken about it enough anyway. I'm gonna give it 8 glasses of water out of 10 as well.
Nice.
Do we want to do the next show? If you've got that.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah,
just
give the next Rex.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna
So we've
announce
got-
the show first, won't we?
Yeah.
For
for
Oh,
episode,
yeah.
35.
35. We're gonna do another
about
show
that.
Yeah.
every 10 episodes, maybe.
Right, what's the show then, boys? What are we doing? If someone got a spinning wheel or something, was that you, Chris?
Yeah, that was me.
Cool.
So the show we've got come up is season 1 of Westworld.
Oh,
Just
I've heard
now
good things
TV.
about Westworld.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, so I'm glad to finally have an excuse to watch it.
Right, well, there we go then.
me too.
Westworld it
Brilliant.
is.
Can't wait. Episode 35. So 9 weeks' time.
Yeah,
Gives you enough
we'll
time
be
to
back
watch
doing
them.
it in person.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Mhm. Now we got recommendations to do for next week. Connor is hiking in the African Alps to deliver some babies, so he cannot be on a few of these episodes.
Yeah, delivering water as well, and then climbing Everest.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
As long as I'm 6 feet away from some
Responsibilities.
cunts, doesn't matter. I can be wherever I want.
There we go.
2 sets. I'm just setting up my wheel again because I was picking a film from that.
Due to technical difficulties, Chris has broken down.
You good, bro?
Yeah.
He needs 10 double D batteries.
So my recommendation's a film that I'm pretty sure neither me or Max have watched. It's from a director I know we both like, and I've been meaning to watch it for a long time because this is the only film I've not watched by him. My pick is Widows, directed by Steve McQueen.
Oof. Nice. I got the DVD.
Any-
Not watched it yet.
Any relation to Lightning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're brothers.
Spawns a car.
They're bros. I had difficulty knowing what to pick this week, so I asked my family if they wanted to recommend anything. So my sister decided to recommend me a movie to discuss, and obviously it went through me first. I would not recommend a movie if I didn't think it was going
It
to
went
be
through rigorous screening.
interesting.
Rigorous screening.
And I also feel I also have to redeem myself after Shrek the Musical. So
Imagine if you
I'm
just
pretty
picked something
sure-
really shit like The Notebook or something like that.
Yeah.
That Max has screened and said yes to. I think I'd much rather be
It's a
fucking scaling the
yeah.
African Alps. Alps.
So the movie she picked was a movie that I have seen before, and I'm pretty sure Chris has seen before. Connor, if you get the time, you should probably watch it because it's really good. It is a 2017 movie directed by Luca Guadagnino called Call Me By Your Name.
Oh, hell yeah.
What's it?
I was going to
thank you.
recommend that at some point.
What language is it in?
English.
It is English.
Okay, cool.
English language.
I'll say,
It's
if I have to
about-
read subtitles, I will not do it unless it's necessary to review it.
It's about gay people, so I'm not sure you're going to enjoy it.
Chris, you cannot make jokes like that on the fucking podcast as
God.
people see this shit. I do not mind gay people. Have gay friends and have a gay
Anyway.
housemate. It doesn't matter.
Anyway,
You can't say that shit.
yes, we all have.
if anyone,
gay
Chris,
friends.
you're the one who is most likely to dislike gay people more. I've got it on my podcast. Got proof of you saying
Anyway.
it.
Let's stop talking about this shit right now, okay? Well, we got our social media accounts. We got YouTube, the Sunday Movie Marathon, Twitter at Sunday Movie
Wait,
Pod,
do I-
Facebook.
Do I not get a recommendation? Can I not recommend you watching
No.
a film?
No,
It
Facebook
was going to be
at Sunday
too
Movie
fairy.
Marathon. Yeah,
Oh,
Facebook
hell
at
yeah.
Sunday
Let's
Movie-
do it.
Facebook at Sunday Movie Marathon and Letterboxd at Sunday MM. Thank you so much, and watch Widows and Call Me by Your Name by the next episode to
Cool.
hear the discussion,
And Tooth
and also
Fairy.
Westworld in the next 9 weeks, and also the Tooth Fairy. We're not going to be discussing it, but you should watch it anyway.
See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bleh.